Many people are deeply concerned because of the potential cuts to SNAP benefits moving forward. And one of the most common questions that I've received over the past several days is, will my monthly SNAP benefits go down next month? Well, we're going to discuss this in today's video. Not only are we going to discuss the changes that are coming to SNAP, but why some say the cuts are potential cuts and not permanent or indefinite. So I'm going to break all this down in just a moment, explain what is going on and what you need to be prepared for if you currently or in the future plan on receiving SNAP benefits from your state. So I'm going to break all this down in just a moment. But first, before I do, if you enjoy these daily updates, do me a favor, go ahead, hit that like button, and now let's begin. So look at this right here. This is an article from Business Insider. It says the big beautiful bill slashes food stamps. One map shows how much red states depend on them. Now, I'm going to show you this map in a second, okay? But first, you need to understand what some of the changes are. Look at this right here. It says, the spending plan outlines future funding for a slew of federal programs that was signed by the president on Friday. That was on July 4th. It says after passing both the House and the Senate with overwhelming GOP support. The budget will slash nearly $200 billion from federal nutrition and aid like the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, which nearly 42 million Americans rely on to afford food. That's going to happen over the next 10 years. It says the most significant policy adjustment will require non-disabled adults without dependents to fulfill work requirements until they reach age 64 to qualify for aid, up from the current cutoff, which Biden increased to age 54. It says the CBO estimated that over 2 million Americans could lose SNAP coverage due to this change. That's what has everybody so concerned, is what if I'm one of those people that I'm just going to lose coverage? Because again, millions of people rely on this to put food on the table every single day. I want to read something to you though. It says right here, some Republicans have defended the legislation, saying that it supports Trump's goal of reducing waste in government spending. It's unclear whether the budget cuts would reduce households' monthly grocery benefits. Advocates for the program say less funding and stricter work requirements alongside high grocery prices will make it more difficult for millions of families to put meals on the table. Okay, here we are. It says in a July statement, U.S. Secretary of Agriculture Brooke Rollins said, and I quote, while expanding programs to support the farmers who feed, fuel, and clothe America, this legislation also tackles the fraud and waste that has run rampant in the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program. The bill holds states accountable for their error rates, strengthens work requirements, and prevents illegal aliens from receiving SNAP. Goes on to say undocumented immigrants have long been ineligible for SNAP and other safety net programs, and newly naturalized citizens must wait 5 years before they qualify. In 2024, the national SNAP error rate, including both over and under payments, was 10.9%. States with error rates over 6% by 2028 will have to begin paying toward federal SNAP costs under the new budget. Okay, now we're going to get to a little more on that in just a second. But here's something I want you to see, okay? This right here is going to tell you when we are going to see these SNAP changes take effect, because many people are concerned on August 1st, their SNAP benefits are going to be reduced. Well, listen to this right here, and she's going to give you a pretty good idea of when we are going to see the most significant cuts. Listen to this.
When might viewers feel the early impact of such sweeping legislation?
Well, obviously, a big piece of legislation like this does take some time to be implemented, so this is no exception. But we do expect, for instance, with respect to the president's 2017 tax cuts being extended, that transition will likely take place in terms of that extension at some point this year. Obviously, those tax cuts were due to expire at the end of this year, so they will kick in at some point in the near term. But what will take a bit longer to implement will be some of those changes that we were talking about over many months with respect to Medicaid and SNAP. For instance, with respect to Medicaid, obviously the big change in this bill is implementing work requirements. Those will be phased in at the end of next year, 2026. Lawmakers had actually pushed that date out further, but to win some more support, they moved that up to 2026. Some of the changes to SNAP could take even longer.
Okay. So as far as the changes to Medicaid, that's going to be sometime at the end of 2026. They say these changes to SNAP are likely going to go into effect after that. So probably in 2027, if not a little bit later. Okay. So that is good news to many people who are pretty much relying on this benefit. But I want to read you something else. Hey, here's what you need to understand. These are the changes. It says current law requires able-bodied adults age 18 to 54 without dependents to work or participate in training for 80 hours a month. The bill raised that limit to age 64, extending the requirement to all able-bodied adults age 18 to 64. That's one change. Here's the other one, and this is why states are kind of furious over this. States are now required to cover 75% of SNAP's administrative costs. They were previously paying 50%. The federal government is the one that's on the hook for the rest. It says states with high error rates above 6% must contribute up to 15% of benefit costs, increasing their financial burden. So again, this is putting it on the states that, okay, they have to cover 75% of the administrative costs. And in doing so, they have to make sure their error rates are not above 6%. If they are, after 2028, they're going to be on the hook for 15% of the benefit costs. So again, it's going to put the majority of this onto the states if they're not doing things on pretty much what the federal government is saying. So again, a little bit of a problem there. Now, I do want to read you one last thing, okay? And here's the last thing I want to read you, or actually want to show you. This right here. It says the percentage of state population enrolled in SNAP in 2025. You can see in California it's 5.1%. Washington State 9.53%. In Oregon it's 21.75%. Here in Kansas it's 20%. Texas 15.9 or 09. 8.29 in Florida. Over in Pennsylvania, 14.95. New York is 7.09. Over here in Alaska, it's 11%, and in Hawaii, it's 7.82%. Obviously, every single state changes a little bit here and there. But the reason why I'm bringing this to your attention is simple. What many people are concerned with is that their benefits are going to be cut instantly, as of like tomorrow. That's not necessarily the case. Okay? That's not the case. It's going to take a little bit of time before we see the biggest cuts, the biggest reduction. So, good news is that you still have time. So, if you have any questions whatsoever regarding SNAP benefits moving forward, please ask your questions down in the comment section below. But again, thank you guys for watching. Consider subscribing, and I'll see you guys on the next one.